Let's call the special meeting to order. Let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, Mary.
Commissioner Wilkinson?
Here.
Commissioner Discharge?
Here.
Commissioner Bird?
Here.
Commissioner Prunick?
Here.
Mayor Barry?
Here. Item B, presentation of water rate evaluation.
Okay.
Turn it over to you, Michelle.
All right, we'll jump right in. Hello, everybody. I am Michelle Harrison, the city manager. This is our second presentation on our water rate evaluation. I see some familiar faces, so welcome back. I just want to, and I guess I should say we've changed how the room is set out from the last meeting, so I'm tucked back here in the back. So hopefully that works out well. Let me know if you can't hear me, and I can kind of step up so you can hear me better. Before we start, I want to just establish that the city does evaluate water rates every year, and they do kind of bump up every year. When we are evaluating the water rates, we're looking at operational costs, debt, new projects, and reserve funding. This year we have a few new projects that are coming in, and we do have aging infrastructure that we need to make sure that we're staying on top of. And we do recognize that water rates do have impacts on the community, so that is one reason that we are holding these meetings. Okay, meeting goals. We're going to start out, we're going to establish some background information about the water utility, just so as we navigate the conversation, we can kind of navigate on the same page. So we'll do a review of the water utility, we'll discuss water utility finances, the evaluation of the water rates, and then we'll kind of land on a recommendation. Ground rules for the meeting. We'll have some commissioner questions. If there's just short questions, commissioners feel free to pop in. If there's long questions or questions that might kind of interrupt the flow of the presentation, we'll just hold those to the end. Public involvement, public comment, very important. We'll hold public questions till the end of the presentation. If you have questions, you gotta stand up, say your name, your address, and then ask the question. And then after questions are handled, we'll do public comment. And probably with public comment, there's some cords and stuff back here. Public comment, it's limited to 4 minutes, and we'll just have people stand up, say their name, and provide their public comment. Okay, so we'll start out with definitions and just kind of make sure we're all talking about the same thing as we go through this. So water utility, that is the department within the city that provides piped water to the community. Water system, same thing as water utility, provides water to the community. Sewer utility is separate from the water utility. So the water utility and sewer utility have different funds and use different money. Last meeting I didn't do a great job of separating those two utilities, so I'll kind of harp on that a little bit throughout this presentation. The water and sewer bill, let's take a look at those. So your utility bill has water and sewer charges on it. For this conversation, we are just talking about the water portion. So you'll see here's a copy of City Hall's water bill. There is a sewer kind of meter charge and a water meter charge, and then a sewer service and a water service. We're just talking about the water portion. So water meter usage and water service. And then for context, typically the water bill is about 2/5 of this, of your utility bill. Okay. Water main, this is the pipe that's buried underground, takes water around town. Main, that's the same thing as water main. Water pipe, same thing as water main or main, all interchangeable terms. Service line is the small pipe that taps into the water main and brings water to your house. And then your internal plumbing in your house brings water to your faucet or your shower or your toilet. And then the enterprise fund, basically an enterprise fund is a city department, such as the water utility, where rates and fees are set to cover the cost of service. And these enterprise funds cannot be supported by taxes, so it's just strictly fees. such as your water bill. R&R, that's a term that'll come up, that stands for repair and replace. So equipment within the water utility, like a pump or something, might need repair, and eventually the pump will get old and need replacement, so R&R, repair and replace. O&M stands for operation and maintenance. CPI, that is the fancy term that we use for inflation. It is a government number that we use for inflation. And it's a regional specific number, and it also pertains to utilities. Okay, and then infrastructure, that just kind of, for the context of this conversation, refers to sort of like parts or equipment from the water utility. So if I say, ooh, the water tower, that's water infrastructure. The water mains, that's water infrastructure. All right, and then last on the list there, we have bond or loan. Bond is a fancy way of saying government loan. And the city uses bonds to pay for most of our larger cost projects. So let's skip over those. Okay, so let's talk about what our water utility provides. It provides safe, clean drinking water 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. And actually, we do a great job at doing that. We are the Michigan Rural Water Utility of the Year. We also provide water for fire protection. And then we track and monitor state and federal regulations to make sure our water system is in compliance with those. The utility also maintains all of our infrastructure, which is the water mains, hydrants, wells, water storage, etc. We provide system and administration, so we have licensed operators, we have maintenance staff, mechanics, a billing assistant, we do water testing. The water utility also provides opportunity for the community to expand. Having a good water and sewer utility, for that matter, is critical to promote community growth and promoting housing development, things like that. And then also the water utility provides peace of mind. So when you're at home and you turn on the faucet, you don't have to worry, is this safe, clean drinking water? You know that it is. All right, so what are the components, more like the physical components of our water utility? I've mentioned a couple of them, but the water utility uses groundwater wells for their raw water supply. There's six of those. We have well pump houses, which help distribute the water around the community. There's 3 of those. We have water storage facilities, so we have the water tower that everybody can see, and then there's 3 water storage tanks. We also have about 20 miles of water mains that are all usually in the middle of, buried underneath the roads. We have 160 fire hydrants, and then we have various pumps and booster stations that help water get around town and to your home. Okay, how many customers does our water utility have? We have about 1,000, so 1,030. And then we typically sell about 67 million gallons of water per year. So that's actually quite a bit of water. And then for context, we have a population of just under 2,000 people. So if anybody wants to do the math on that.
Michelle, what was our water usage in '25?
What do you mean by water usage?
Well, in 2024, we had 66.5 million gallons. What was?
I'd have to look, I don't know that off the top of my head, but it's around 67 million. I can get that number. Okay, so let's talk about what's the purpose of the water bill. And basically, it's a little bit of a silly question, but I want to make sure that I'm connecting people to how their water bills flow in to support the water utility operations. So we'll go through, there's kind of 3 main functions, we'll go through each of these. So the water bills help cover the operational costs of the utility. So I've got a whole list up here. We've got administrative costs, We've got energy costs, we have to pay electric bills, we have to pay heating bills. We've got a host of repair and maintenance tasks that we have to do. The water bill also helps fund our debt payments. So I mentioned a little bit earlier, when the city needs to do large projects, typically we have to take out a loan or a bond to pay for the project, and then we have to repay that loan. So that's what a debt payment is. An example of a project that we took out a bond for is the M28 project that happened, I think like a handful of years ago now. We've got a couple new projects coming up. There's a lead service line replacement project and a Washington Street project. So I'm gonna sidetrack us really quick here to talk about what those projects are. So the lead service line replacement project, basically it's a state mandated project that all cities within the state of Michigan need to replace any lead service lines or galvanized lines that were previously connected to some sort of lead fixture. It's a great time to do this project because the state is offering to pay for half of it, which means we need to, I forgot what the amount was off the top of my head, which means that we only need to pay for $1.3 million out of a $2.7 million project. And there is a timeline on this project, so it does need to be done within a specific amount of years. Okay, and then we've got the Washington Street project that's coming up. This is a project that's, the total cost is about $6 million. It's not just a water project, it's a water main replacement, sewer main replacement, and then you have to dig up the road to do all that replacement, and then you have to pave the road. So in total, it's about $6 million. We have what I'm going to call a coupon for $2 million from the state. We have some congressionally delegated, we basically got $2 million from the state to do this project. Reason that we need to do this project, it was identified back in the 1990s as a project that the city should do, so we've been working on it for almost 40 years to get done. We're finally in a spot where we have the opportunity to work on it. The water main is old. We're not sure how old. It's definitely pre-World War II. We think it's from the late 30s, so it's starting to get to be about 100 years old. The water main is undersized. Additionally, the sewer main in the area is in terrible shape. So the sewer main definitely needs to be dug up, and you don't dig up a road and leave a 100-year-old water main right next to it without replacing it. Again, let's get a bullet point there. We have grant funding for $2 million. That's like the coupon for $2 million. And then this project is also supportive of what's in the master plan.
Michelle, can I just point out that the $2 million grant is a congressional carve-out, which is quite rare.
Very rare.
And it's for restoration, not just paving. I mean, the water is the water, the sewer is the sewer, and the grant is to restore everything above it, which isn't just asphalt.
I should also mention there are service lines in this area that need to be replaced with that lead service line project, and that the water main in that area has lead joints, so it's old, it's time to replace it. Okay, back to the purpose of the water bill. Kind of third purpose of the water bill is to help build reserve funds. Okay. Our target for reserve funds is $2 million. We currently have about $1 million. I often kind of get the comment of like, wow, that's a lot of money. It is. Having reserve funds it's a requirement. So actually funding agencies require that we have this. It is a best practice, and reserve funds also help the utility kind of weather some fluctuations in operations. So if we have something break, we've got some money set aside so we don't have to pass that cost on to the customer. So anyhow, let's go through these 4 boxes. 3 of them are in green. That means we're kind of looking good shape there. And then the last one is the one where we're kind of running into a little bit of issue. Okay, so on the far left, operational reserves, rates required by bonds. You're supposed to have between 2 and 6 months of operational costs. We have about $200,000 of costs in the reserves. It's a little bit on the low end, but that's okay. Debt reserves, this is another requirement that we have by bonds, and basically the purpose of this reserve fund is when we get a loan or a bond, the bond agency wants to make sure that we can repay that, so they require us to set aside funds, chaos ensued, to be able to continue paying on our debt until hopefully chaos is kind of settled out. All right, the third box there is capital reserves. Basically, we would love to have about 10% of our capital assets in an emergency reserve fund. So if we had an emergency, we have a large water main break, we can basically fix that without having to go out and get a loan to pay for that. The downside of getting loans is you have interest. So also the emergency reserves, again, allows us to do a repair without having to get that loan, and then we don't have to pass on the cost to the customer. We can kind of weather that storm without impacting rates.
Turns off my hearing aids too when I turn off my phone.
All right, and then the final box here, the fourth box, is repair, replace, improve. The improve component of that, we should be saving for projects that we know need to happen. So, for example, we know Superior Street has a water main that's 125 years old and that needs to be replaced. We should be saving a little bit in preparation for that. Not doing a really good job at that. But more importantly is we need to be saving repair and replace costs. And repair and replace costs, again, are required by bonds. And right now, we're supposed to be saving about $190,000 a year for repair and replace costs. So let's talk about what that means. Okay, repair and replace funds are for, this is a little kind of a financial word, they're for short-lived assets, and a short-lived asset is an item that will be replaced within the next 10 to 20 years, that costs more than $1,000, or requires routine, reoccurring maintenance. So I've got some examples up here of things that we should be saving repair and replacement funds for. So for example, we have the water tower. That costs about $200,000 to repaint, and that needs to be done every 15 years. So that means we should save about $13,300 each year in anticipation of needing to do that. And then there's not really an option of not painting the water tower. Painting the water tower prevents corrosion and makes sure that the structural integrity of the water tower is maintained, so we're not having to buy a brand new water tower because we didn't maintain it. Well pumps and controls, again, we have 6 wells. It's about $100,000 in change to replace the well pumps and the controls. Those are good for about every 10 years. So we should be saving about $14,000 a year in anticipation of replacing our well pumps. Okay. And then I just want to highlight some of the cost challenges that the utility has been facing. Prices are rising for the utility. So for example, in 2012, we had a lift station pump that we purchased for about $4,500. We just purchased another pump this year. It was $15,000, so that's more than 3 times the cost. Fire hydrants, 2010, those were $3,200. Buying them today, $8,700. So we've got some cost challenges, and we've been doing a pretty good job of handling that and not passing that on to the consumer. Okay, so let's get into a little bit more of the financial info instead of the background info of the utility. All right, so the water system brings in about $1.3 million in revenue from the user fees. That's from residents, businesses, $1.3 million. Our expenses, about 1.2 million, and that allows, or basically brings in about $80,000 for our reserve funding. And as I noted, we need about $190,000. So $80,000 doesn't really do anybody a favor. We need to look at the rates and see where we're at to kind of meet our requirements. Okay, so we've got a recommended water increase that would allow us to bring in $1.4 million, again, expenses 1.2. So we can bring in reserve funds of $189,000. And that gets us just about to the $190,000 mark that we need to be at. And again, the $190,000, that is a requirement for us to get the bonds for projects.
These are annual numbers?
Yes. Okay, so what does that mean for your water bill? Okay, got a lot of numbers up here. We're gonna walk through this. I do wanna say, as we kind of walk through this, kind of the water bill exercise, remember that this is water only. So when you're thinking about your utility bill, we've got the sewer component, water component, just the water component is being discussed here, so.
I have a quick question, Michelle. For the water utility, for us to get to 189 or 190,000, what is that percentage?
13.4.
Thank you.
Okay, so let's go through this. So how do you figure out what your water rate would be with this recommended rate? If you know how much water you use, which I think most people don't know, but if you do know, basically you take the gallons of water that you use, multiply it by the per gallon charge, which I've got up here, and then you add your service fee. So if you're not sure how much water you use, you probably use around 1,000 gallons a month. And how do we know that? Basically, I looked at households in the community and then divided that by the persons per house. So the average household water consumption is around 2,200 gallons, and that excludes any businesses, apartments, homes that don't use water in the winter, so snowbirds are kind of out of that usage. And then if you take that per month water consumption per house, the 2,000 gallons, divided by the per person per household number, you get about 1,000 gallons of water use per person. And then just a little more kind of numbers here. How do I know that there's about 2.18 people per household? I looked at the Munising Housing Needs Assessment, which was done in November of '24. That report said that Munising had about a population of 1,900 people and 908 households. If you take the people divided by the house numbers, you get 2. Okay, so now that we've established people use about 1,000 gallons of water per month, basically take how many people that live in your house, multiply that by 1,000, and that's how many gallons of water you use per month. So if we take like a 4-person household, they use about, we'll estimate 4,000 gallons. And keep in mind, this is an average, so people do use more, some people use less. Okay, so 4,000 gallons of water, you multiply that by the per gallon cost of water, which is 0.01049 cents. The volume cost of water is $41.97. And then you have to add your service fee on top of that. So the water bill would be $69.93. It's a little bit of an eye test for me. Okay, so now we're back at this chart which has all the numbers. So if you start on the left, think about how many people you have in your household. If you have 2, you can start on that 2,000 gallons used number. Your volume charge for 2,000 gallons is $21. Add in your service fee, so your proposed water bill would be $48.95. That's a $5.80 change per month. If you're a household of 4, I've got the line highlighted in orange. So it's the water volume charge will be $42, and you'll have the water service fee added in there, so the proposed water bill would be just under $70, a change of about $8.25 a month. Again, keeping in mind, this is just the water, this is not the sewer as well. Okay, so I've mentioned this term water service fee, and you've probably seen it on your bill. Let's just talk about what it is and how the water service fee is calculated. Okay, so the service fee, it's a fee to cover the fixed cost of always having water available to customers, even if little or no water is used. So for example, if a homeowner is gone to maybe Florida, but water is needed for a fire, there is still cost to the utility for having that water available at any moment. And then this service fee is calculated based on the number of customers, the operational costs, our debt load, and our repair and replacement expenses. Okay, and then we're nearing the end, and basically there's some questions asked at the previous meeting, so I have answered those and we'll present those here. So there was a question about how do apartment buildings work? So for small apartment buildings, oftentimes there's just like one little service line that will go into a small apartment building, but there'll be multiple, well, apartment buildings have multiple living units. Basically, the service fee is multiplied by the number of apartment units. So if you have a 4-unit apartment building and you have that $27.96 monthly service fee, you multiply that by 4, and the apartment building service fee is $111. And then you add on the per gallon cost. And then that's how the apartment building water bill works. What do businesses pay? Businesses pay the same per gallon cost of water that residents do, but the service fee is often larger for businesses, so that's how businesses end up paying more for water. And then it's kind of small up here, but this is available online. The service fee or the fixed monthly rate for water users is available online on our website, so if you can't see it, you can check that out there. Last meeting, there was a question about equipment rental. This is a fancy way of saying that the water utility, and I guess let me back up. Equipment rental is a term that we use in our budgeting process, and it represents a fancy way of saying that the water utility contributes money for the upkeep of equipment and vehicles. And this equipment rental goes towards maintenance, repairs, our staff, mechanics, and whatnot. It doesn't actually represent us going out to like Enterprise and renting pickup trucks and stuff like that. And then other community water bills, kind of comparing our bills to other communities. It's not a great idea or necessarily a good thing to compare our water utility bills to other communities. There's so many different things going on in each different community that it makes it hard to look at that in an apples to apples situation. So I think the last meeting Houghton was brought up. So Houghton has a different population, they probably have a different treatment system. The age of their system is probably different from ours, their distribution area is different. And then also Houghton has about 4 times as many residents as Munising has, and they have about 3 times as many houses as Munising has. So there's more people to spread out the cost. Each utility has kind of the big equipment to make and distribute water. Other communities might have more people to help distribute that cost across. Okay, so conclusion. Again, this is the water rate only. With our recommended water rate increase, the average water increase will be approximately $8.25 per month. per average household. And the increase is required to support necessary water projects and required repair and replacement costs. Okay. I'm ready for questions.
I have one. Looking at this, in 2025, our service fee was $24.65. That's gonna go up this year to $27.65. And on top of that, if your rate increase is $8.27 for 4,000 gallons, so it's not $8.27 increase, it's $11.58 increase.
That includes the service.
I understand, but the service fee, right, last year was $24.65, this year it's $27.96. So that's an increase.
Okay.
And then you have a percentage of, now we're looking at another percentage of an increase.
I think this has both fixed
Yeah,
and per gallon usage calculated into it. I thought it would.
It says, on this, if you want to go back to page 11, it says the water service fee is $27.96.
yeah, so the change in the bill, I simplified this from last meeting, and maybe I should have. But basically, I had the change in bill includes the old water volume fee and old service charge.
But you're not adding in, you're telling us that the bill's gonna go up $8.27 for 4,000. But it's gone up more than that. Because last year was $24.65 and now it's 27, so why isn't that added on to the 827?
It should be in there. I can go back in.
It should be in
It is.
the 827?
Yes,
Yeah, it's part of that 827. The majority of the increase is on the fixed charge because it's loans.
You told me that at 13.4%, the change in the bill is gonna be $8.27.
Yeah.
I'll have
That's
to
not
step
right.
aside and do the math, but yes, that is what I'm telling you.
It is right, if you do the math on the fixed charge, about $3 increase.
The $3.30 increase from last year, plus
4%.
13.4%.
So it's your water bill on the whole, it's just your water bill, so it's gonna.
I understand.
It's gonna include the service fee though, too.
I understand that,
So
that's what I'm saying.
Okay, so where's your question?
So if we hadn't increased the service fee, and we just increased the 13.4%, our bill would be $8.27. But since we have increased the service fee,
And the
and now we're gonna increase it 13.4%, now it's $11.58, not $8.27 anymore.
I-
We
No,
we
the
have,
increase-
No,
the
'cause you already
increased
did the
service
other one.
fee is part of the 13.4%.
yeah.
It applies to both fixed charge
Mhm.
and
And
per
the water.
capita, or per gallon usage.
well, then I must have flunked math then. Because 13.4% is not $8.27. But that's okay, go ahead.
relevant to that.
Get them.
Doesn't make
It-
sense.
When setting up the business rates for the larger meters, this is proportional, or like directly proportional, or through the math proportional? Because we have the breakdown of how that goes with everything else, but are we looking towards larger water mains, specifically the prison, which is 30%, and really skews all of the numbers about people when there's 600 beds up there, and we've basically added a quarter more people? So, yeah, because I looked at the other one too, and so this water rate report says that 30% of all of the water goes outside the city, we've only got
50%.
12.
We've only got 12.
12 water customers outside the city.
Right.
So if we're looking at this, are we going towards the prison, are we going towards the ones that are outside of the city with the exact same fiscal structure? Are we able to change that? Do we have to stick with this? Because it seems like there's a lot of rules of bonds that we haven't seen those rules for. one of the ways that we might be able to skew this in protecting the citizens and the residents is having higher rates for those that are outside the city. While it's not a lot per customer usage, it is a lot in terms of per gallon usage. So is that possible?
Customers that are outside of the city limits pay 1.5 times the per gallon charge. So we do factor that in currently.
And it's not in any of these presentations.
There are a lot of details that are not in the presentation. I'm trying to kind of provide broad information. I can provide those details.
All right, I have a different one.
Yep.
Okay, so repair and replace funds, the $190,000 a year, the reason why we have to go with this big rate increase is because this $190,000 a year is required if we bond, just to make sure that we're all on the same page?
So that is correct.
Okay, so the problem with that is that we transfer money around through trucks and equipment. We use funds that are related to taxing to pay for those equipment purchases. And now you're saying that we have to have it a certain way. Why is our budget allowed to do what we do with our budget with moving this around, but we're not allowed to be putting money into this to lower the cost? Because it seems like we can take as much money out as we want, but we're not allowed to put a cent in.
Tell me what you mean about taking money out.
You are calculating, or this is being calculated as trucks and equipment, 15 years. This is on slide 17 of the new
So-
stuff.
yeah, so
So this is
basically-
directly for repair and replace.
Yep.
Now, when we do our budget, we have our budget hearings. We get money that comes out of this enterprise fund. It goes into a non-enterprise fund,
Correct.
and then it sits there for a while until we're ready to pay for it.
Doesn't work like that.
Well, it doesn't work like this either, because we're already mixing the type of funds.
No, we're not.
No,
For-
we're the,
No, we're not.
It's a direct payment.
it's a lease or a payment to.
When we buy equipment for the water department, we transfer through equipment rental, we transfer those funds from repair and replacement to the motor pool, and we buy that equipment with the motor pool funds. It's a one-way transfer.
So we're allowed to do one-way transfer if it goes out, but not if it goes in.
That's correct.
Correct,
The-
we
the
cannot
motor-
use tax money for utilities.
The motor pool is our mechanism to do the repair, replace, maintain for the equipment.
Motorized vehicles.
Does anybody have any questions?
Yes.
State your name, please. Your name.
Probably 7.
Name and address and then.
Joe Case, how specific do you want the address? 1427 Washington Street. Michelle, during your presentation early on, you talked about the need for this and you referenced the water portion of the utility. But then you mentioned 2.7 million. I think that was an error and I'm just looking for clarification.
That might have been, was that when I was talking
Because
about one of the
isn't the
projects?
water portion of this project 1.7 million?
Oh, yeah, hold on.
There's
let me-
two projects.
Right, there's a sewer, which is
Yeah, the
2.7.
lead service line replacement is water only, that's $2.7 million, of which the city has to pay half.
Water
and then-
only is 2.7?
Yes. And the Washington Street is water and sewer, and the city's portion is 1.7 million.
That's different from what's in the 25-26 budget. right? Or 25-26.
This spans multiple years, all of the cost of the project is not contained in the 1 year's budget.
No, I'm saying in the most recent, the budget that we can look at, the most recent budget that we can look at says 1.7 to water and 2.7 to sewer.
Okay, I think that could be for Washington Street.
Yeah, that's
It's a
Washington
little
Street.
small, but
Yes, that's what we're talking about, right?
Well, we're also doing a lead service line replacement project that came up this year. So that's.
Which is
that's
not
one
under the
point
umbrella
three.
of the Washington Street.
No,
They're two different projects.
separate projects, two separate bond issues, but with the same requirement.
Yeah, so I'm just seeking clarification that what the budget on the website says is 1.7 for the Washington Street water
Yep.
And 2.7 million for the sewer.
Yep.
And I thought I heard you say 2.7 for the water.
I may have misspoke, or I could have said.
It is indeed
2.7.
1.7, that's all.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, the total lead service line replacement cost is also 2.7, so that might lead to the confusion.
Yeah, thank you. Can I keep going? I got maybe two more questions.
Go for it.
Okay. Early on in the presentation, you cite the need, and you referenced during the May 7th meeting, a roughly 100-year-old water main. So can I conclude that that 1.7 is purely for the replacement of that Washington Street water main? And nothing else?
Some upgrades at Booster Station.
Some upgrades at the booster station.
Booster station pushes
So
water.
to my, may I respond? To my mind, that's in a different realm, is it not? Booster, the need is I'm presuming a rusty old iron main that needs, and I can get on board with that. Now you start talking booster station, that isn't necessarily the description for the need, so I'm seeking clarification on that. It's more than just a rusty old main, it's this and this and this?
No,
The
it's the
booster
booster
station is-
station that feeds the larger line that we're going to put in place.
Helps with the pressure and making sure that there's adequate fire flows.
Can we possibly, somewhere along the way, have a paragraph that describes why the boosters, what is the booster station expense? Is it baked into the
We
1.7?
haven't even got the bid yet.
Yes, it's big.
It's baked into the, okay. And I presume somebody knows why the booster station needs to be upgraded.
But Michelle just explained that it needs to be upgraded for water pressure and supplying water through the new
Well,
mains.
that booster station fills that east tank. It pulls from the city system and fills the tank up at Cox Edition to supply Cox Edition with all their water.
So it's doing the job today, you're saying?
Yeah, but it's aged.
Well, that's what I'm looking
Yeah.
for, how badly
The
is
piping
it?
inside there the building was built in 1957. The controls are from
So
1957.
I get it, if you say it's badly aged like the water main, I'm not
Yes.
gonna harp on that.
Yeah,
That's
it's not as old,
essentially what I'm.
it's not as old, but it's beyond its life. We've already had to do emergency repairs there to the water line back in 2016. so.
I get it, I have no issue with that. The financing for this is quoted in the budget plan as being at a rate of 2.375%, which
It's a good.
I think is a pretty good rate. Maybe this isn't a point for, maybe I should say this, no, I can ask this now, right? Have we sought state revolving fund financing for that? Which the state quotes as little as 1%,
We are using a state revolving fund for the
Lead service lines.
lead service lines.
but the state also does drinking water and sewage treatment. So for those two aspects of the project, have we sought state revolving fund financing with those?
I can't, actually, that.
I don't think we have, it's a
USDA.
US Rural Development Project, which is also a very useful tool in providing competitive financing for rural communities.
Forgive me, I don't know what your answer meant. We have applied for it and we've been rejected?
No.
No,
No,
we're
But
using,
not-
we're using USDA rural development dollars for that project. It's basically the fit.
Kind of how it goes is basically the rural development will work with communities to identify project needs, and they continue working with you based on their
Oh,
availability.
I get that, that's
Yeah,
the USDA,
Yes,
USDA.
and then it's not like we can take that and go to a different shop and ask for funding. It's like, it's a USDA project, it's funded through USDA.
Well, why wouldn't we want state revolving fund funding at 1%?
My understanding is
There's
it
a lot
doesn't,
less funds available,
yeah.
it's harder to get.
Where- I don't care how hard it is to get, have we tried, is what I'm asking.
Yeah, in fact, so it took us 4 years to get funded for this lead service line project. We were always just missing the cut. They have a big scoring criteria if you're even eligible to get it. They'll have a list of projects that they will fund throughout the year. We've always been just below that. So we try to incorporate more stuff in there to get our scoring higher, wellhead protection program, stuff like that. It gains us points for the scoring. We finally made the cut this year.
You're giving me a lot of great information, and I appreciate it. I don't know how to use it. I'm just interested in knowing, if this 1% financing carrot that's out there has been sought.
Yes, we're constantly trying to.
And we were denied? Is that what you're telling me?
Yes, well, we just to make the cut for that, yeah. We were able to get the rural development funds before we were able to get the state revolving funds for that project. State revolving, we were able to get for the lead service
You
lines.
agree the state at 1% is a better deal than the
Not always.
USDA?
I don't know.
1% is always better than 2.375.
No, it's
Always.
not. No, it's not.
Always. It always is.
No,
Well,
no,
it's
on
no,
the same terms.
Let me
Mr.
explain,
Case.
let me explain. If you can only get $1 million in funding from the state, and the city has to pay the $5 million for the project, and you can get it at 1%, and you can get $2 million from USDA at 2.375%. And the requirements are that you use USDA funding for the project, it's a better deal.
I understand what you say. So then we were told we could not borrow $2 million from the state revolving fund, is what you're telling me. That we sought $2 million from the state revolving fund, and the state said, no, we cannot finance
We got
you.
$1.385 million from the state for the lead service line replacement.
I'm talking water.
I know that.
And there are 3 legs to
You
that.
can only go to the well so many times and the.
I get it. I'm just trying to understand, and the answer seems to be floating around. Either we have sought that and we were denied, or we have not sought that.
We did for 4 years.
But
and
you-
we didn't meet the we didn't meet the funding threshold.
But now we're number 1.
That's a little more black here.
So that's why we don't get any help, right?
Are we an overburdened community, considered an overburdened?
I'm not even sure what that means.
We did not make it for the Washington Street project. We did not make that cut.
Thank you.
That's why it's.
I'm not trying to be difficult.
That's why
I
I
it's-
just
don't
want to
know,
understand.
I don't know what you mean by an overburdened community.
Well, it's a classification the state has that gets the 1% financing.
Yeah, I
They
know.
don't just give it to Grosse Pointe and Grand Rapids and
I know.
anybody. It's,
We apply under a rural set-aside often because of the size of our community. And the USDA funds typically smaller communities that don't qualify for state funding.
thank you all.
Any other questions?
Yeah, problem is, you're doing that
Can I have your name and
Washington
address,
Street.
please?
You're doing Washington.
Can I have your name and address, please?
It's been 70 years.
Can I have your name and
Where'd
address?
all the money go in 70 years?
I'm not, your question's not gonna be
Where'd
answered.
it go?
If you're not gonna
You
follow.
guys are the ones in charge.
I don't recognize the question here. What's the question?
Well, you're talking about going up 13.4%. For us to pay for it, the city never paid for it for 70 years. And now you're going to bring down the people, bring up 13.4%? Why wasn't
I still don't recognize
I've
the
seen
question.
Washington Street been repaired how many times, and you guys never changed them then? H58, you never changed it? Where does all this money go? When we had 4,000 or 5,000 people in this town, where did all the money go for the water?
Well, I guess when we had 4,000 or 5,000 people in this town, it was before my time, and I've been here since '94.
I can remember back in 80s, you had 3,000, 4,000 in town here, and you chased everybody out.
Is there any other questions? Any commissioner questions?
Gene?
Oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm Jean Hayes, 318 West Superior Street. What are you doing on Superior Street? You talked about it needs to be redone.
That is a future project, the main on Superior, but it's just, it was
What did
made,
they do, like,
that was the
When they
overlay.
did the
years ago.
streetscape,
That was the
the DDA?
overlay.
yeah,
They,
But they
You
did
got it.
water and
Go ahead.
sewer, didn't they?
No, basically, that was an overlay, just to kind of,
No, not 2-3 years ago I'm talking,
oh,
The streetscape. This
yeah.
is the reason I got involved in city politics, Gene. When they put the DDA streetscape in with the Key West design, they didn't replace any of the water, sewer, or storm sewer underneath the streets because it would have been too expensive.
Well, they must have did some of it because that's when we got ours done from the main to our house.
Yeah,
The 300
Superior
block
Street
stuff.
downtown.
Yeah. Oh, no, I'm not talking
Well,
downtown.
that's what we're talking about.
Oh, well, you wouldn't
The
specify.
300
Okay.
block has been done.
Okay, yeah, okay.
That was part of the big project in 2000.
And how do you know if your lead, water, whatever, to be replaced? Where are those?
Scattered throughout.
Oh, they're just
You would
anywhere in
have
town?
been, you would have been notified.
But if we redid ours, say, 20 years ago, it'd been taken care of. Okay,
A lot of people redid their laterals when we did the big project in 2008.
Yeah.
We removed a lot of the lead pipes and galvanized.
okay. I don't want you tearing up my yard again.
I don't want them tearing up my yard either, Jim.
I have a question. Corey Searly. I don't live in the city, but I own a business in the city. Teacher drops in this week. So if we have this increase, how long is this gonna last? When's the next increase coming? Because this is a significant increase, especially on a commercial business.
It's a good question. I can think, I can answer it. It's this year, would be an 11 or a 13.4% increase. And then next year, the water rate and the sewer rate will increase by the CPI as required by our bonding agreements
Okay, the CPI changes
every year.
every year.
yep.
And it's going through the roof right now. And it's a regional CPI, I think it's Detroit-based, the Detroit
Yeah, Midwest.
Financial Market. CPI is Consumer Price Index, for those of you who don't know.
Do you have a question? Oh.
Ruth Ann Pocola. I just wanted to make clear what Mr. Wilkinson said, because the rest of you were quite sure that he was correct. So I'm looking at it, and so city manager is saying that the service fee is included in the $8 and whatever. Okay, so that's gonna stick when we see our bill. That fee.
Well, it depends on how much water you use.
Yeah,
but
right,
it's
yeah.
Exactly 4,000 gallons.
Yeah. Yeah, and all I want to say is that, you know, we want people to live here in Munising, you know. But when they find out what utilities are for water, it sort of scares them. So I don't know what we're gonna do. I think that's something that you as a board, and I know you're working hard on what's going on now, but our rates can't keep going up and up and up, because everybody's gonna be leaving here.
Well,
Or where, I don't know.
they will go up by the CPI every year until we pay off all of our revenue bonds.
And do we know how much that is?
It changes every year. Right now, I think it's 4.16%.
It has historically flexed between 2 and 4.5 usually. That's kind of the good rule of thumb.
Under our $8 and some cents.
Another thing to
Is that
consider,
sewer also?
No, right now that's just water.
and it may be slightly off topic, is we get our power through UPCO, and we pay approximately twice the rate that Alger Delta customers use, even though the power originates in the same place and comes through the same transmission lines and the same distribution system. We've tried to fix that for 25 years. We've pled with the MPSC, the Public Service Commission, to do something to either switch from UPCO to Alger Delta or to make UPCO lower their rates. And the PSC keeps giving UPCO permission to increase their rates. And that's as detrimental as the water or sewer utility, because my electric bill is much more than my water bill.
Okay,
I don't know
thank
how to
you.
fix that. Ethan.
Well,
Melissa Martin, 312 Elm. Last week when we were in here, it was stated that there are 1,000 customers and 800 residents.
No, 800 households.
800 households. This, one of the slides said 908.
I think that was for Houghton.
No, go back.
This way? It was, and of course, the number of houses changes, so that's a ballpark.
So I was just trying to figure out
Yeah.
how you figured out the residential customers. You said you removed apartments,
Oh, yes, when I was doing like for the water.
the average.
Yeah, basically, I mean,
You removed everybody that's not here for the winter.
Yeah,
It's
so-
like, did you calculate the 3 months of usage that they are here?
no, I mean, there's a lot
So
of,
it really lowered the average.
no, basically, households that use more than 600 gallons per month, every month of the year, so that takes out any snowbirds that leave and would skew the average. So any house that had more than 600 gallons per month, every month of the year was included. I took out anything that was designated as commercial, apartment.
So how many, what was the number that you had?
There was approximately 800.
Okay.
But just to follow up with that style of thinking, you did not calculate for peak usage. It sounds like with summer months, when we have all the hotel rooms, we have all of the seasonal residents, so I mean, one out of, using the same housing report that you used for this, 1 out of 5 houses, or housing units in the city is seasonal. So that's 20% of the households are a swing here. I don't know how we're not including this in how we calculate this better.
Well, I would say that for the snowbirds that are gone, the way kind of they support the water utility is that monthly service fee.
Which will go up 13.4% for them, or 11%, whichever we decide.
And then agreed, in my mind, kind of the peaking factor of tourism or whatnot, that would be something that I would use if I was sizing pipes and not finding out like the per resident use.
I have 2 more questions. Shoot, I forgot. So, on your list of what the service fee is for each month, I have access to multiple water bills, and those numbers don't match but the lowest number for any of my numbers.
I think that's fair, and that's, I'm sure, water rates across different communities do vary widely.
Okay, so
And that's,
my next question is, so 13.4% is going on the service fee and on the water bill?
right,
If we
across the-
decide to increase it by
Okay.
13.4%,
That's what the
that's correct.
proposal is,
yes.
is 13% on both items.
And that's what injected confusion into your question, Bob. It is on both
Can
the
you
fixed
go back to
term.
that slide that shows the amount where it was gonna be increased, the $8.25, or $8.50, whatever it was?
827?
Okay, so you have 6963 is the proposed bill, that's an increase of $8.27. That does not include the service fee, or it does, the $69 includes the $25 service fee?
It includes, it's 27 plus, 27 service fee plus 41.97 to get to this, oops, oh, you can't see my.
That gets to the $69.93?
Yeah, sorry you can't see my mouse, I don't know why. Yeah. Yeah, so it's the 27, oh, that's not great, plus 41 is the, equals the $69.
Anybody else have any questions? You need,
Bosworth, Nova Street, 401. Exactly how much debt have we incurred to get us to this point? Because I see our cost, pardon me,
Sorry.
I see our cost as people who live here constantly going up. What is the cost to get the water out of the ground, to the towers and then to us. Because I understand everything costs money, but if it's 13% increase this year for water, what is it gonna continue to do?
Well, it costs us about $1.2 million to operate the water utility. And as we move along, you know, the infrastructure does age, so we do need to, periodically, we have to do larger projects to replace the old equipment and old infrastructure.
Michelle, we have significant debt. I think our annual revenue bond debt payment is right around $600,000, is that correct?
Oh, yeah, I have that, correct, that
580.
is correct.
And most of that debt, or at least, because it's been 15 years, no, shoot, it's been 18 years. Most of that debt was incurred in a chunk of $13.4 million in 2008, when we rebuilt 75% of the community. And I don't remember what the interest rate was, it was low. And it was preferable to trying to fix a 100-year-old system one block at a time. And if you're a contractor, you know that the cost of doing that is 10% inflation plus mobilization. You know, it just would go up 10% every year. As I mentioned at the last meeting, the hardest argument that I had to make, and it took me 10 years to make it, was to convince my parents' generation that borrowing money at 2% was preferable to paying 10% inflation costs. And quite literally, we could not afford to rebuild the community one block at a time. We had to rebuild the whole thing because it was literally falling apart beneath our feet. And we have incurred additional revenue bonds since then. We did the Cox Edition piece, which we cut out of the original project. Washington Street was cut out of the original project too, not because it was less critical, because it was hugely expensive. We could have spent half of that loan money just doing Washington Street. So we took big chunks of it out. I think the biggest chunk of our infrastructure that I would deem critical after these projects is the Elm Street water main, which dates to 1900, and it serves the whole downtown. And it'll be incredibly disruptive to business when we do have to replace that. We will have to shut down downtown. And that's not even part of this equation yet.
Thank you for answering my question.
And just keep in mind, if I may, the water bill is 2/5 of your water sewer bill. If we adopt a 13.4% rate increase, it will be a net increase in your water sewer bill of about 6%, when you were already going to expect 4.16% from the CPI. And if we don't adopt the 13.4% and we adopt the 11% minimum required by the bonds we're about to issue, it will even be a less of a net increase. It's painful. I pay it too. Fortunately, I don't use a whole lot of water anymore.
Jamie Burton, 112 Pine Street. What is going to be your recommendation when your water bill exceeds folks' budgets? What's going to happen when you have a line of people out the door that can't pay their water bill, or it goes into foreclosure? What's going to be your recommendation then?
Well, it's just,
I'll take that as a hypothetical question.
I don't think we
That's
should.
not-
I think we should clarify what our existing policies are. I mean, I know that there's been questions about.
Bryce,
some
you
of the
answer
past.
the question then.
There's limited things that are capable for a municipality to deal with some of this stuff. And a lot of that goes to either the bonding process in the past or because of certain things that has been adopted at state level. I think the bigger question is how available are these policies for people to look at? I don't believe that the active policy that we changed, it was the first 6 months, it was before Michelle got here, but it was after I got on the board. So there was a recent change, and I don't know where to find that on the website. couldn't find anything related to this on the website, to be completely honest, and I'm not very happy that it wasn't shared on social. So like, we do a very poor job as a municipality to share this stuff when people are looking for it the most, when it's on people's minds, which I think are small things that we can do to be better. But right now, what I think a lot of people are kind of stressing at is that we got $3 million worth of millage renewals on the August ballot. We just had an additional millage added with the election that happened a couple of Tuesdays ago. Rates are well exceeding what employees are getting, to the point that companies are not negotiating with unions based on local grocery prices, all this other kind of stuff. There has kind of been a disrespectful aspect, not because we're not focusing on what the people are needing, but because we've been so worried about just the other aspects of this increase that we need to take a soft approach with this. And I don't think we've done a good job.
I didn't hear an answer in there. The question was, what does the city do?
Then get the policy, Rod.
What is, the question?
Go get the
was-
policy over there. You wanna go out there and you wanna
No,
do
I'm
this,
gonna
you wanna
make a
screw
stab at
everybody.
answering her question. Her question was, what do we do when people can't pay their water bill anymore and start leaving town? That's her question.
Yes, when you
The
have
only
a
way I
line of
can
your
answer
people
that-
that can't pay it, what's going to be your?
The only way that
proposal?
I can answer that is this commission and this manager, we are obliged to provide water and sewer to the customers in the city and charge them only as much as we have to do it. But we also have to charge them as much as we have to do it. And I don't know how a policy increase would change that. We are doing what we have to do. And, you know, I hope we never get to that point, I honestly don't.
It's already happening. We're already leaving.
It's totally unfortunate that we do have to do this and make these difficult decisions, but in order to keep the community thriving, and maybe that's not the correct term, these are necessary changes that we do have to make. We don't make these changes, our infrastructure really deteriorates, and then we're in a whole different situation where we can't attract people to come in here. So yeah, there's gotta be a balance, and I'm not giving you a good answer, I'm giving you the best one I have, because, we need the infrastructure in order to thrive, survive, expand, and, and to attract. We need to attract families here, we need to attract, our median age is getting older, and so in order to be able to attract folks, we have to maintain this infrastructure. 13.4%, yeah, it's too bad. We've been maintaining the CPI for the last 10, 12 years?
2008.
And, okay, 16 years, or whatever it is, I'm not doing my math, anyways. We watch our bills go up every year, but in order to move forward, we have to keep these reserves up, or else we won't be able to move forward.
The
So-
truth is there's not a good answer to your question. The only thing I can say is that we will do the best we can to make sure the cost increase are as small as possible.
I would ask you to please consider the income of this city, and folks don't have it. With gas and groceries and everything else going up, we're not gonna have the money to give to the water.
I understand.
And we already have one of the most expensive electric utilities in the United States, in New York City.
And, yeah, I mean, the utilities are outrageous, there's no doubt, but it costs to maintain them.
And I'm pretty sure this program is still in place, and I will mention if anybody who has difficulty paying their water or sewer bill can call Community Action. I think you're still able to get assistance with that.
Did you have a question?
I do. Stephanie Robar, 124 West Barnum Street. This is probably gonna sound kind of a silly, kind of like a silly question. And I do tune my husband out when he talks about this stuff, I admit that. So last year, up on Barnum Street, something was done, all I was told by Gordon, it was a lot of blah, blah, blah. That something was done incorrectly and it had to be fixed. So does the city have any kind of like, is there like insurance? Is there anybody do people just come back and fix stuff for free? I mean, I don't know how any of that works. I was just wondering, Gord always says, if you want something done right, you pay the money and you have it done right the first time, instead of having to pay twice. And I was just wondering about things like that, if things are done incorrectly. Do we go after somebody? Is there insurance to cover that? I don't know how that stuff works. I was just curious.
I don't think anything was done incorrectly, it was just a section of line.
That's
Barnum Street.
what he was told.
It was a section of line in the 08 project that was not completed because it only involved water and not water and sewer. So they focused more on streets that had both underneath them. So that section was just left, and we had money left over from the highway project, so we went ahead and completed that project.
Oh, okay, so he definitely could have been wrong. I don't know.
It wasn't done correctly, it
It just wasn't done at all. Right, okay, well, I guess it just.
There are three sources of funding for water and sewer infrastructure repair. One is the utility rates themselves, the water and sewer charges. The other two are state and federal grant funds or loan funds. I don't see a lot of money coming from the federal government for infrastructure repair in the next 3 years. Therefore, I don't see a lot of money coming from the state for infrastructure repairs for the next 3 years. And that's just a broad political statement. This administration has other priorities. And I think more and more municipalities are going to have to rely upon their ratepayers to carry an unfair share of the burden. We will do the best we can.
Anybody else?
Yeah, what happens if we don't approve this 13.4%?
Well, it's the commission's decision.
Huh?
It's the commission's decision.
I guess we need water sewer, but when I go through the budget, we got, for the water department, we got fringes, 157,000, medical insurance, 74,000, and MERS, 17,000. Are those accurate numbers?
Yeah, but there's the way they're spread over the different funds because different people
This
work
is
in
out of the water
different
fund.
departments. I know, but some of the employees in the water department also work in DPW. And I'm not sure how the treasurer spreads those fringe costs around, but they're expensive, aren't they?
Well, if we're bringing in $1.2 million, and just those three things are 20% of the $1.2 million are fringes, I mean, I don't know how many people are in the water department, but for 150,000, or 157,000 in fringes, not including medical insurance and retirement, that seems disproportionate to me.
Well, you know, that's anybody who charges their time to the water department, and that includes some city hall staff.
But these are fringe benefits, this isn't payroll.
Fringe benefits, as I understand going through the budget.
That's MERS. MERS is pension, that's separate.
I don't have those detailed answers right now, but.
Again, it just seems disproportionate. If that's the benefits for the water department, that's $250,000 in benefits, not payroll.
Like I said, more than the people who work in the water department charge to the water department, there's staff time here as well, and percentages of everybody. You're right, John, fringe benefits are outrageous. I just remarked at our last budget hearing that the cost of labor, the cost of actual wages is less than state taxes and unemployment, insurance, and fringe benefits.
And I think the numbers are accurate, but we're so focused on the rate that we're gonna increase. And I'm more focused on the budget and the income and expenses. And are they calculated correctly? And it just bothers me if we say, well, we might have somebody working over here, but they get charged here, and then the water bill looks like it's a negative.
When's our next budget hearing?
Next Thursday.
Next
I'm
budget
glad-
hearing is
21st.
Thursday, John.
I'll come. Thank you.
Anybody else? Any more questions from the commission? All right, hearing none, we'll move on. Got my agenda. All right, let's move on to item C. Is there any public comment, 4-minute limit?
Yeah. Let's stand up.
Yep, sure.
Zach Eckert, 931 West Music Avenue, kind of in a weird place, so I'm gonna rotate a lot. All right. So comment is that, I got a couple. So first off, that I was a commissioner 3 years ago. I chose to, or when I ran unopposed, which was surprising to me. I was asked by someone, hey, you're involved in other parts of town, would you be interested in getting involved in city commission? I didn't have anything going on Mondays and Wednesday nights, so I said, why not? I quickly learned that it is you get paid $40 a month, but there's so much homework involved in the job. And working a full-time job that sometimes takes 60 hours a week, plus wanting to volunteer other places in the community, I didn't have the output to be able to do this job correctly. So I want to thank all of you. I thank you. This was really educational. I learned more in the last 2 meetings about the water than I did in the 3 years as a commissioner. And that's my fault because I didn't educate myself. But that's a comment to this public as well, that there's a lot that goes on, that being a commissioner, it's not a simple job. And you can't just expect, it's a full-time job to be a commissioner in my mind. And that's why I didn't run for election. So I hope people realize that, and it makes me look bad as a commissioner, and I can own that. The second comment I have, I didn't feel like it deserved to be a question because it's outside of the realm of water. But there are communities around Michigan, I don't know, they're probably bigger communities than ours, that look into generating their own electricity. And everyone in this room can agree, it's been brought up multiple times, that our electrical rates in the UP are the highest in the lower 48. I think that's well known. We need to look at, as a community, as a commission, what can we do to lower that? Not only is it gonna help the citizens, but it's gonna help the water treatment plant. The water treatment plant uses so much electricity. All of the facilities that the city owns use a ton of electricity. Let's look at other ways of reducing costs. It sucks that this rate has to go through, if it does. Let's look at other ways to reduce costs. And I think looking at one of the highest costs, electrical, should be done. Thank you.
Anybody else have a comment, please?
Yeah. Again, Joe Case, tough problem, I think we all recognize that. I would just say, I think it's incumbent upon somebody in city government, I don't know if that's the city manager or the commission as a whole or whomever, but because this is emotional, it's real, and it's big, gonna put a lot of hurt on a lot of people, that whatever we're handing over to engineering firms to design our system, or contractors to build it, or bond agents to finance it, there's an obligation to go through that 10 times over with a fine-tooth comb and make sure every cup of dirt we're paying for, every hour of labor, every bit of material, best financing, all of that has been done. And I just want to ask the commission, if you haven't already done that, to consider doing that and publishing the results of that effort to assure us that this is money well spent. It's unavoidable, but every penny was money well spent.
Thank you. Anyone else? Oh, hold on. Go ahead, Corey.
Corey Searly, yeah. A couple things. First off, I want to state, I like and respect all commissioners, you know, even when I don't agree with them, every time. But I will say this. When we're calculating water rate increases, and we're talking about numbers that are coming up, or for instance, when we're talking about these fringes being so high, how are we making sure that we are putting the right budgetary numbers underwater? Because if we are not, of course, 13% when you maybe have the wrong numbers underneath it. How do we make sure of that? Who's auditing that? How do we make sure that that is actually being calculated correctly, because that, things like that factor into this, correct? So how do we do that?
Question?
Yeah, actually, it's, this is public comment at this point, unless
You know,
you.
something
Yep,
But it's one that we need to think about when we're talking about
That can,
doing that type of an increase.
that can be discussed, we're having this budgetary meeting next Thursday. And we can definitely discuss it then, so,
Is that near the budget meeting?
yep, 6 o'clock.
6 o'clock.
I had attempted to find the PowerPoint that we were told it was gonna be online, I didn't see it.
I haven't put it online yet. I wanted to basically do this one and then I can put it
Yeah,
online.
but more people could have came prepared, because the city did not post, the city posted one post just a couple days ago that there was even a meeting. Had I not been here last week, I wouldn't even known to watch for it. The transparency is terrible, terrible. I looked online trying to find the expenditures. John did a better job than I did. I cannot find anything. Wouldn't let me open things. There wasn't a city meeting minutes on there since 2025. I mean, the lack of information that we can get on there is ridiculous. I came in 2 years ago when you guys switched over the trash service. I can't get trash service in this town. So I came in to see what the city ordinance was. We knew when the city worker didn't even know that there was a new city ordinance and you guys had voted on it. That wasn't online. It was months ago that you guys had voted it. It hadn't been put online at that point. You guys just need to kind of get up. I know it's not you, but whoever is in your office that should be posting these things should be posting these things.
Nope, I appreciate that, thank you.
And to further that, just briefly, the website is poor. I think anybody who uses it would agree, it is not good. And, you know, so, you know, if you don't want rooms like this over things, it would be much better to get that information out there, make it more, it's hard to navigate that website as somebody who lives on the internet. It is not a great website, and there is, you know, there's times where people can't find meeting dates and times. I had to show somebody the path through the site to find meeting dates and times versus, you know, a tab that schedules the meetings. You know, a tab that's policies and procedures, a tab that's city's master plan, simple things like that. And would not be a huge cost. I have done several websites that are much more in-depth. It could be very simple, but I do agree with her. The website's hard to navigate, and I feel, and I'm web savvy. You know, I know there's people who are not, and I can't even imagine them trying to.
Thank you, Karen. Anybody? Commission, public comment?
I'd just like to thank everybody for coming and expressing their concerns. Too often, the city commission makes decisions in front of an empty room. And democracy is not a spectator sport, so thank you for coming.
Goes back to your guys' comments, so yes, you do definitely do a better job. All right.
I have one. I'm very upset about this entire process. I'm finding it difficult to say words that are both professional and accurate because of just how this went. And I know that a lot of this overlaps with the fact that I know that some of the funding issues between essentially merging the process for the funding are on two different timelines, and I know that puts us under the gun. But we had an entire meeting, told everybody that we would try to tighten our belts, do everything that we could to join in with the community, and then we get the email that actually comes from the bond attorney and says, no, you have to do it this way. If we're not getting that information, and we directly say, put it up on social media, make sure people are gonna know, and then you don't, I find it to be extremely frustrating because while we're sitting here and we've got great union employees, all that kind of jazz that is outpacing the public in terms of wages and benefits, we're not giving enough information on a timely enough manner for the average household in a seasonal economy to do what's best for their household. We are actively interfering with every single person in this room's ability to make a month-to-month budget. Even in the budget hearings that we had, I was very, very disappointed to know that we were not looking at the seasonality of our community when focusing on some of this stuff, because you could not tell me between 2 and 6 months which 2 and 6 months were gonna go through, and how that would impact things. This is not a standard that is acceptable to people that are just making it by. Yes, there are lots of other options, and I wish that people would take up on those. Yes, I know that it's difficult. I'm not knocking it, I'm knocking the city staff for this. But at some point, that disjunction between the amount of people that have the confidence to have good information, to show up to these meetings, and to get involved in democracy appropriately, is a failure on our part to get to that point. I'm not gonna find that acceptable any longer.
Okay. Item D, I'm gonna call for adjournment.
I move. Second.
Moved by Commissioner Justardens, supported by Commissioner Wilkinson to adjourn. Any more discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.